Hello, you guys. It's your boy Josh Vision bringing to you my Vikings Season 2, Episode 3 review. The episode was entitled Treachery. So, we begin this episode with Ragnar and company. Essentially, they're in, I believe they're near the Winchester Church, which Athelstan mentions. And King Hork asks Athelstan, will there be treasure there? And Athelstan pretty much smiles, says, yeah, there'll be plenty of treasure. So, we see them in their little mini Molly crew pretty much approaching Winchester Church. And after this scene, we are introduced to King Egbert, which in the previous episode, the soldiers from Wessex, which Ragnar Company defeated, mentioned that King Egbert would avenge them, and Athelstan pretty much telling Ragnar that King Egbert is a lot like Ragnar. And when you first see King Egbert, you can see in a lot of ways where he's like Ragnar. There's just something to him, especially the way how he lays out his plans. He talks about how his first, like the first news he heard about these Northmen was when he was over in Charlemagne's court over, I believe, in southern Gaul, which Gaul at the time was France. Well, modern day France. So he talks about how like a few ships came along the shoreline, did some damage, and when Charlemagne's guys try to go after him, people try to go after them, their boats were just so maneuverable and so quick, they couldn't get caught. And that's when he figured, just by the boats, that like just the little details which been mentioned about through the raids over the last few seasons or so, that he knew these were Northmen. He also mentions that he knew it was a matter of time that they would attack Wessex, which he's the king of. So he pretty much says that now it's time for us to deal with these ruffians, these pagans. He sends his son Aethelwulf, which he calls, to pretty much just the army, to pretty much raise up an army. And I believe he sends some other people to sort of spy on the Northmen to see what their numbers are and how's the best way to approach, how to approach them. And that's essentially how the scene ended. It ends with him just sort of just thinking. It was just a really great scene. Well done. We're introduced to where Lagertha's been over the past 4 years. We see that she has an abusive asshole husband. I believe his name is Earl Sigvard. And he mentions to Lagertha, you know what, you're my wife. I shouldn't be chasing you up these hills. And he pretty much bitches about Bjorn not being respectful to him, despite he loves Bjorn like his own son, and if Bjorn only met him halfway. And Lagertha says this really cool, snarky remark, where she says, listen, how can you expect my son to love you as a father figure when you don't love anyone else but yourself? And for that comment, the dude just straight backhands Lagertha. And yeah, when you see that, you're like, whoa. Like, damn, like, I know she said some cheeky shit, but really, bro? Like, really? Was there really a need for you to smack the shit out of her? And when you see, like, her face, like, even she's shocked. She's like, this dude really hit me. You see the blood trickle from the side of her mouth, and the guy, and Earl Sigvard's like, I'm sorry, sweetheart. You know how my temper sometimes, overwhelms me. And he picks her up, whatever, and then he just, like, puts his thumb over the blood to sort of smear it away. Lagertha's just still in shock. Like, I still can't believe this sucker hit me. So the next scene following this is Ragnar accompanying, the town people of West, one of the many towns of Wessex, which they're going after, which the Winchester Church is at. The monks notice the Northmen on their way, so they ring the bells. All the people go into hiding in the church, whatever, and Ragnar company just go in and they just beat the soldiers that come in, to try to defend the town. They just make quick and easy work out of them. Hork puts in work. Athelstan is just like, damn. when you look the way Atlas has been fighting, especially from the last episode, you're saying, damn, this dude was just last season. This dude was just a monk. He didn't know how to fight for shit. Now this dude's literally a trained badass killer right now. Floki putting in work as usual. Ragnar just taking dudes out like that, just with quickness, speed, and maneuverability, and just ferociousness. There's a one point in which there was some guy in which he was so scared of Ragnar, he was just sort of staying still, and Ragnar was like, ah! The guy's like, ah! The dude tried to run away, but Ragnar's like, nah, sucker. Like, tackle the dude, slice his throat, and then there was some guy on the horseback trying to come at the group. Ragnar jumps on top of something and just slices his throat as well. So at this point, there's no resistance when it comes to the Winchester Church, and pretty much the Northmen think about just headed straight to the church, but Torsten's like, nah, they probably have something behind those doors, whatever, probably some archers or some shit. So Hor calls for the shield wall, and everyone gets a shield wall position, and Torsten's on top, and Torsten has Zero all set and ready, and then they open it. No one's there. Ragnar's like, let's go. They go in, whatever, and it's just quiet as shit. And it doesn't seem like there's any treasure inside the church. And Horik is pissed off about this, saying, like, what the fuck? And Floki's on his feelings. Floki's all like, you said there would be treasure. You said there would be treasure. Why does Ragnar listen to you? And then Alistair said, there is treasure. So they get to the altar of the church. And then they're saying, like, listen, there's nothing there. And then Alistair's like, listen, we Christians, we hide our treasure underneath. And then a light bulb goes up in Floki's and Horik's, head, and they just start hacking away at the bottom of the altar. And there you have it, gold, a shitload of gold, and some apparent dead saint bones to go along with it. So you see the Northmen just going through it, just scavenging through, and Ragnar just smiling, and he speaks to Alistair. He's like, how did you know there was a saint? How did you know there was going to be gold down there? And not, what else did he say? Did he just say gold? Yeah, he just said gold. And I believe right after he says that, one of the Northman guys throws the skull at Ragnar. Ragnar just sort of observes the skull. And then Ragnar and Athelson sort of just go to the wayside, just talk a bit, which Floki notices, much to his jealousy. So Athelson says that us Christians, like I mentioned before, we tend to bury gold not just in the altar, but we also tend to do that with the saints. And Ragnar's like, okay, what's a saint? And Alston explains that a saint is like a martyr, someone who dies for their beliefs and their faiths. In their faith. And Ragnar's like, what's a miracle? And Alston's like, a miracle is something that's not foreseeable, like it's highly unlikely to happen. It's a rarity. Then Ragnar asks Alston, what's a soul? And then Alston at first tries to explain it, then he's stumped. He's like, Like, he can't even answer that. The next scene after that, we have Thorstein with a group of some of the Northmen trying to find, I'm assuming, I want to say gold, probably trying to find the other people in the town. And they find the people hiding within the ground, like a little trapdoor under, the church. And then Thorstein just smiles, and he just gets the axe, and I believe he just mutilates them all, which is very surprising and very vicious. So the next scene after that, we see Athelson entering the monk station of the church, where they do the art and the writing, the scribe station. Actually, I should describe it as the scribe station of the church. So Athelson, obviously, he was a monk, so he's used to this. He's used to the drawing and the writing and the art and the painting and all this shit. So he's pretty much, it's been so long for him. I would say probably around 7 years since he's actually done things of this nature. So he's kind of, getting reacquainted with it. He touches a brush and he starts to go to do a little bit of work on it. But unbeknownst to him, there's one young monk there hiding. And the young monk, as soon as he notices that Athelson is sort of, in his viewpoint, tampering with the word of God. You know, he's like, no, stop. And then Absalom just on instinct, just on his now Viking instinct, just kills him. Boom. One good shot with the axe, straight, you know, to the collarbone or the shoulder area. And he just sees the dude just like bleeding out, dying. And, you know, that had to be a very traumatic, you know, scene for Appleton, because Appleton is not like, you know, he's not a Viking, you know. He, you know, and just seeing someone who pretty much doing the same shit that you used to do, and also just to see him die, and especially just a crazy, words can't describe, you know, what was going through Atlas's mind just seeing that, and as a viewer as well, you're like, fuck. In a way, you're like, damn, Atlas has truly, you know, flipped the script. You know, he has truly become a Viking. You know, or at least 80% now. You know, after that, we have the main priest sort of witness this a few seconds after. And Atherton tries to warn the priest to go away. The priest is like, how you speak our language? He said, what were you? And Atherton's like, I was like this guy, you know. I was a monk, you know, at Lindisfarne, I was a Christian and all that shit. So the main priest was like, and you join these motherfuckers? When they capture you, we will draw and quarter you. And not draw and quarter you, I'm sorry. That was a little bit too risky, little vicious. We will crucify you. And right after this little scene, whatever, no, not after this little interaction, Floki comes in. And Floki, as usual, jealous of Athelstan, just stares at Athelstan and stares at the priest. And then he gets one of his axes and kind of brings a priest closer to him. And he looks at Athelstan once again and says, you know what? He's coming with us. And the next scene, Floki pretty much brings the main priest to Hort, and says that this is the main priest of this church. And Hort is all saying, like, you know what? I hate you. I hate you because you speak lies about there only being one God. You're a liar and an old fool. And you have this guy pretty much speaking in Latin. You know, probably a Lord's Prayer or something along the lines. And Hort just gives you one good shot straight to the nose, like, bow! It was crazy. That was a Pacquiao blow he gave to that guy. And then Hort tells Floki and the rest of the Northmen, yo, let's have some fun with this guy. You know, this priest. So they pretty much strip the dude. It's just so disrespectful. And they just tie him up to one of the posts in the church. And they just have arrow practice with this dude. Just arrow after arrow. It got to the point in which Alistair was like, you know what, fuck this shit. This dude is suffering enough. He doesn't deserve this shit. And he gives a brief short little Christian, it was a really good thing. I have to remember. When I actually watch the episode over again, I'll remember. But he slices the dude's throat with mercy kill. And Floki didn't like it. Hork and them didn't like it, but Floki was the one that really didn't like it. Hork was like, oh, well, we ended our fun, but whatever. You know, we got little arrows put in, no pun intended. The scene after that, we have Ragnar Company entering the kitchen part of the town, probably the bakery, and Ragnar notices this girl is the only one there, and she's in hiding, and he notices, you know, his group being so rambunctious, whatever. So Ragnar hides the girl, which I thought was a really touching part of this scene, you know, because he knows how brutal those Northmen can be, whatever, and also the fact that we have to remember that Ragnar lost his daughter Gita like 3 episodes in the season premiere of season 2. So that was a very touching scene. So I believe after this scene we have Bjorn speaking with Lagertha, and Bjorn says to Lagertha, did he hit you again? And Lagertha's like, listen, he did. It's not a big deal. It won't ever happen again. All right? And Bjorn's like, you bet he hopes it. He better hope it doesn't happen. You know, you better hope it doesn't happen again, or I'll kill him. You know, and Lagertha's just like, she's shoot a rock at a hard place, whatever. And Bjorn mentions how he misses his father. How he misses his father. And Lagertha says, well, you should. You are the son of Ragnar Lothbrok. And Bjorn also sort of puts into play, like, listen, I shouldn't be just proud of my father and his accomplishments. You should be. You was his wife. And that's when Lackland once again, you know, because let's be honest, it's been 4 years, but the wounds are still fresh from that how that whole marriage ended, you know, and that was pretty much all that happened in that particular scene. So I believe after that we have this scene in which King Egbert's in the bath with some of his court officials and bishops and shit, and they're kind of teed off in a way, or kind of wondering why King Egbert allowed the Northmen to just essentially destroy, ransacked and pillaged, that town. It was a very important town. But King Egbert's like, listen, my kingdom is very large. Did I expect them to go and probably raid and ransack a few? Yes, because my kingdom is very large. But here's the benefit to it. Now we know where they are. Okay? Now we know. And some sacrifices are necessary. I just love this character. And it's only his first fucking... Damn. Dude, oh, God, great. Already. But yeah, so he mentions the fact about how... I think one of the bitches mentioned how the main priest died. And King Empress says, hey, listen, he died for a good cause. He died as a martyr for God, for the Lord God. And then he says to the fat ass bishop that's there, who mentioned that fact to him, that, well, I'm sure you'll be willing to martyrdom yourself for God and for Wessex. And then the guy's like, well, sure, King. And he's like, just his body language. He's like, fuck, please, I don't want to do this shit. And then Egbert just leaves with a smile on his face, pretty much saying, I don't give a shit if he dies. I don't give a shit if he dies. Whatever. As long as I find a way, the ends justify the means. You can just tell by Egbert within like the first 30 minutes of this episode. So eventually we have this meeting, not the meeting, a little bit before the meeting. We have pretty much everyone's back in their camp. The Northmen are back in their camp, Ragnar Company, and Floki pretty much constantly pestering Athelstan once again, saying, look, priest, I found your holy book. Don't you want it? Don't you want it? And you can tell Athelstan is tempted just to grab that shit. He's tempted. He's like, listen, I told you before, Floki, my God is the All-Father, Thor. All right? And then Floki's like, you know what? I don't believe you. And he tapped his forehead. And that was me. That would be a sign for, okay, we're fighting right now. Okay? Like, for real. You get on my nerves, then you tap my forehead. No, we fighting. But Athelstan's Athelstan. So, I believe Athelstan says after that, look, Ragnar gave me this, which was the warrior ring, like I believe like it's like a warrior ring that represented camaraderie and brotherhood and war bands. And Floki's like, listen, like he wasn't buying it. He was like, saying, who gives a shit? Ragnar gave you essentially a little turd. Who gives a fuck? And he ends this whole thing with having one of the saints' hands, like skeleton hands, over Athelstan's shoulder, saying, see, I know you still love your saints. And he just fucked with him. That's how that particular thing ends. And Ragnar and Hork talk about, Ragnar tells to Hork that the true treasure is the land here in England because, it's easier to plant, grow crops, and it's easier to live here compared to in their environment, which, lack of resources, it's just hard to live, and like it's hard to crop and all that shit. So it would be beneficial for them to try to live. Try to have some of their people live here. You know what I mean? And live amongst the people here. But Hork's like, well, will the Saxons actually be cool with that? Which is a good question. The next scene after that, ironically, the king has the fat ass bishop and some of his officials meet up with Ragnar. So the official asks, does one of y'all speak our language? And Ragnar's like, I do. And he does this funny smile and then like frown. Like smile, then annoyance look. I call it the Kurt Cobain look. But And he says to the bishop that the bishop mentions that the king wants to know how much will it take for you guys to leave, and Ragna's like, well, not just to leave. You can also say how much it will take for us to stay, because we're tired of killing all of you. And he as he does it, he rolls up, the thing that was on the bishop's um, body, whatever. It was something long, and he's kind of choking the bishop with it. You know, and it was kind of just a hilarious scene. And then the bishop's like, "Okay, I'll tell him." And Reiner like, "Okay," and then Reiner lets go, and then Reiner does this funny, like probably like a mock Christian type thing, to the bishop. So he's on his way back, and then Hort notices that one of the officials who was looking at them with disgust, whatever. Um, I believe he was counting the numbers of the Northmen that was there, and Hort peeped it, and Hort was like, "Hold on, hold on," and Hort just got the axe and just slashed the shit out of that dude's throat, and then just went to work and just mutilated the fucking body. It was a fucking crazy scene. Even Ragnar was like, "What the fuck? Why the fuck you do that for?" Floki's enjoying it. Floki's laughing his ass off. And then you have the bishop being so damn scared. This dude's trying to run to the horse, but he's so fat, he's literally walking. He's power walking, and I think at one point he falls off the damn horse. He's in such a hurry to get the fuck away. Um, but yeah, I believe that's all that happened in regards to Ragnar, Horik, Floki, and Athelstan in this particular episode. But here's when the good shit starts. We have Jarl Borg. Pretty much, he just got married for the second time, and he mentions the fact that last time he got married, his wife was poisoned by his brother when she drank his wine instead of him drinking it. So he says, does anyone want to taste it? Because keep in mind, everyone we're in this big ass hall, whatever. Everyone, like, it's feasting time post wedding, and he's really like a little paranoid about the fact because how obviously it's understandable because that's the same way his wife died, but his current wife decides to drink it, and then he says stop. She's like, oh no, I couldn't bear it for the second time, and he drinks it, and as he drinks it, he takes it around his mouth. He's like, it's actually pretty good, and everyone cheers and shit. So after that, Jarl Borg essentially lays out his plan. He said, listen, I want revenge on Ragnar Lothbrok. Now, don't take it as though I completely blame him for why we weren't able to sail along with him and Horik to the west. For that, I blame mainly King Horik. But he dishonored me by doing this. It was an untrustworthy move, and I must seek revenge just like our culture permits. And who did he leave in charge? He left his lands pretty much unattended to. He left his wife and his drunken brother, a.k.a. my fault, my bad, a.k.a. fires shot at Rollo. So, essentially, they all agree to pretty much take over fucking Kattegat. So, at this point, Siggy notices, a few longboats coming their way, and she wakes up Rollo, who's probably post-drunk. Anyways, she tells Rollo to come and see. And Rollo's like, those are y'all Borg's, boats and all that shit. And pretty much he pretty much becomes the leader, which everyone knew, including the series. Everyone, at least in my opinion, that we knew Rollo could be, and has shown flashes of so far these first two seasons. So he pretty much says, anyone that's able to hold a weapon and knows how to fight, come along with me. We're gonna fucking defend this to the very end. And they're putting up like sort of like barriers and shit. And this was a really fucking awesome, really great scene that lasted about 10, 15 minutes. And you have even Siggy during put on some armor. And Rollo's like, listen, don't do it. You're not. She's like, I'm not like the And then Rollo and her have this little awkward pause because Rollo's like, in a way, like, well, yeah, you aren't like Lagtha, but anyways, Rollo and those and the people of Kattegat are able to, that knew how to fight, that was able to hold a weapon. they did put up a pretty good, fight against Jarl Borg. Even though Jarl Borg and his people were just fucking vicious. It was only a matter of time before, the members of Kattegat were getting dismantled. Considering like the majority of the people, went along with Ragnar and Hort. And we had this really great scene in which Rollo and Jarl Borg had a really good axe fight in which you just looked at them, you're like, damn, these dudes are equal as fuck because they weren't able to really take advantage of the other. Eventually, Rollo had to sort of scurry away. He goes to the old man, the guy that saved him via Ragnar's coin from England, and the guy tells Rollo, listen, it's not a shame to run away for now, Rollo. Your job is to protect Ragnar's sons. All right? The gods will forgive you for this. I'll tell them. And Rollo begrudgingly leaves and goes off to saber pastures, to the top of the mountain, which he told Siggy and Aslog and the rest, to go. So, this old man has one last scene of badassery. This dude took out a few dudes, and he was fucking. That was epic. But eventually, he gets shot down by the damn arrows, and Yogborg essentially claims Kattegat to himself. And then we have this really interesting ending scene in which Rollo was just and Siggy are just looking down, and Rollo was just like, "Fuck, damn, man." And then after that, we have Yogborg just entering, Grey Hall, Kattegat, and he's just laughing as he sits at Ragnar's throne in his chair. And yeah, damn, that was a really crazy fucking episode. Anyways, thank you guys for listening to my Vikings Season 2, Episode 3 review entitled Treachery. Treachery. Yeah. Treachery. I'm sorry for the pronunciation problems. It's a Wednesday. But yeah, like the video if you can, subscribe to my channel, write some comments down below. And once again, this is your boy Josh Vision, and have a nice day.